This is Bo from Pulse Productions. I just wanted to show you DP and MOTU interfaces working together with a Universal Audio UAD-2 Apollo. What I have here on the Mac is I have also a Universal Audio UAD-2 DUO card sitting in one of my slots, and I have a PCIe card that handles extra firewire buses, and that's where the Apollo is attached to. And so the Apollo sits on its own dedicated firewire bus to make sure we have full bandwidth allotted to the Apollo. And also for PCI, I have a MOTU 424 card here that hosts two MOTU 1296 interfaces and one 24i. And on top of that, if you look at the firewire chain, we do have a MOTU 896AD sitting on the Mac's internal firewire bus. That's firewire 400. So let's go ahead and open up first the MOTU audio setup, and you can see we have access to the 896AD, and go to MOTU PCIe audio setup, and you can see I have two 1296s and one 24i. Now we can go ahead, open the UAD meter and control panel, and we will see in the system settings here that we do see the Apollo quad and we do see the UAD-2 DUO. Now I found that DP opens much faster if I open DP before I actually open the Universal Audio Apollo console application. So just go ahead and open DP, and that's DP 806. Should be latest version as of today. So once DP 8 comes up, there we go, we'll go ahead and launch the console app. Console app comes up. Now let's go ahead and make a new session in DP. So the first thing I will do is go to my setup, configure audio system, and configure hardware driver. And we have set the master device to the Universal Audio Apollo, but I also want to have my MOTU interfaces available to me. So what you have to do is, let's just unclick those for a moment, so you see the only thing that's selected as an audio device right now is the Apollo. Now when I want to add my MOTU interfaces to become available to me, I'll simply go ahead and find them, hold down the command key on my keyboard and click on the additional interfaces I want to have available. And I go ahead, click OK. Now we need to set up a little bit of the routing, and that is done in Studio and Bundles. And here you get the Bundles window, and you can see here's all the, on top is all the inputs that's available to us through the interfaces. First we have the Universal Apollo, that's the first because it's my master device. Then comes the MOTU 896, and then comes the three interfaces that attach to the PCIe 424. And here we have the first, the 1296.1, and here we have 1296.2, and here comes the 24i. Okay, now here, because you have to think about the bundles window as a huge patch bay. So that's where we will patch the interfaces into the mixer. Let's just call it the console of DP. So first let's go ahead and make a couple of audio tracks. And let's go to the mixing board. I'm so old that I like mixing boards. That's just the way I am. So we'll see here I have two inputs available to me right now. I have what's called input stream 1.1 and input stream 1.2, which doesn't make that much sense to me, but see, that's what they're called right here. And here the path space said so input stream 1.1 is actually called named right after input stream 1.1 of the Universal Audio Apollo. Now I can go ahead and change that. Just double click on it and I'll call it Apollo 1. And you'll see the name change in your mixing console and DP accordingly. We jump to the next one. Let's call that Apollo 2, and that will have the input from the Apollo interface, the mic preamp here, channel analog 2. Okay. Now I need more because I want to take advantage. Say I want to take advantage of all my 4 preamps in the Apollo, so I'll simply have to click Add, and DP already knows that. Okay, let's go to the next one. I'll rename this to Apollo 3, and let's add the last one. Apollo 4. Now you can see they're all selected as mono, but you could change it if you wanted. If you're running stereo something in here, a stereo signal in to say like channel 3 and 4, you could, let's just delete this one and take this one and change that to a stereo. Now you'll see DP selects input 3 and 4 as left right, and my input Apollo 3 becomes a stereo input, so I of course would change it to something like Apollo 3.4 if I wanted it to. Now let's go back and just call it 3 for now, change it back to mono, add another one, Apollo 4, and there we go. Now let's just check here, you can see I have now my inputs available, and you can change them so you can record from what channel you want to record into DP. Now if I wanted to add, say I wanted to add a couple of inputs from my 1296s, I will still add more. Now if you have 2 options here, you can add or you can add multiple. So you can add multiple and say, oh, I need to add say 4 mono inputs, and here's my 4 mono inputs. Now DP automatically thinks that they should be consecutive to the ones we already did. So, but let's call this 1296 1, 1296 2, 1296, and go from the B. 1296 B channel 2. Now what I simply will do is here I'll just take this one and drag to the 1296 1 channel 1, this one channel 2, and this one comes from the B1, so that's going to 1296 2 channel 1, and this one will be 1296 channel 2. And if I wanted to patch in the 24 track, I can add more bundles here and say, so this is my 2-inch track 1, and that will come in from, that's hooked up to the 24i. So I could add all the 24 track from the 2-inch. So there you go. So now you have all these and they're available to you. Okay, so once this is done, I can close my my bundles windows, and let's just look at get some signal here. So we see we get signal into the two first channels on the UAD console, and it goes into two API vision channel strips, and we can monitor our levels: input, gain, the output of the channel strip, and here's the level of the individual channels. So I can see they're coming in. I have the audio monitor, small window available to me here in DP right now. I can get rid of that if I don't want to have it over there. I can just drag in here and get my audio monitor in here. Here we see all the available to us. Here in the mini menu, we can actually change the level range of our audio meters. So I'm only showing the top 6 dB before clip. 12 dB scale, or we can see the full range as we were seeing before. I like to set it to like 20, so I actually see I have some decent level coming in. Also in this little mini menu, you can change the name of your files that the audio files that DP will create when you start recording. And as you can see, you can have a couple of ways of setting those name of those files. You can actually set them to either track name, which means whatever name of your track, that's the name of your file that will be saved to your disk for this audio. So if I change this over here, hold down the Option key and click once, I can call it Vox. I call the second one for GTR. Now, having this being selected as how I base my file names, when I start recording, the let's just try this right now. We must select something to record on. So we have something coming in here. Now if we go here and look at our sound bites, now we'll actually see the file name is GTR and Vox. And if we go and look at them in the Finder window, you can see this is the name the files have been named. Now we can change the file name. As we said, we could change it to the name of the input, which I guess would not make much sense, but for some it might. Let's just record a little bit. Let's see. So here you see the name of the file, input stream. It's now called input stream 11. That to me is a little harder to figure out once if I get a lot of sessions that has been recorded anywhere else that I have to sort out. So I really like these being named of what it is. Then again, you can set up here, which is custom file name. So you have options here, but I do like just to leave it on track name. Okay, one thing, let's look at the meter bridge. Let's click on input. So now we are monitoring the inputs coming in from the console. So let's just get a little level here. One thing that's nice here about the level, the meter bridge window in DP is that you can change the resolution of your metering. So if I go down here to the scale at the bottom, you see my cursor change to a hand. I can move it up. So now I only see a scale from -12 dB to clip to 0. I can do the same thing from the top. So I can say my top now is -3 dB, which I like. So everything I record, so I see if I hit anything, I have to go close there to 3 dB to get the best resolution of the files that I can get. So I like to do it this way, so I see all my levels this way. But you can change it in many different ways here. And right now we're looking at the inputs, we look at the bundles. We could also start adding the outputs. And we have the tracks. So these are the Vox and the GTR tracks that we have. So once there's something coming out of those guys, we'll start seeing it here. If we go back and start playing back, now we start seeing the information coming up there. Let's go back to our sequence. Now, one thing, while this was happening, I was hearing some latency if I was listening, because the DAW is sending out. Let's go back mixing board. You see we have the output set. Now output is still called output stream because we didn't change that. If we want to change that, we can go back into bundles. Now we were looking at inputs before. If I change this to outputs, you can see I have output stream here. I would call it Apollo Master. And you can see it's a stereo bus, and it goes to output 1, 2 on the Apollo. So if we go back here, you see it goes to the Apollo Master is my output. Now I'm sending, everything comes in here, it loops through DP, it goes back to the console and gets mixed in with the signal coming in. The cool thing about the console here is like QMix from MOTU, that you can do near a zero latency monitoring when you're recording. So what I need to do here is make sure that the output that the output from these doesn't loop back to the console. And I could do a couple of things. What I like to do is simply go ahead, track, and add a master fader track, because I'll need it anyhow sometimes. So now these two will be routed through my master fader, and to make sure these don't go back, I'll simply just mute this, and now I get rid of any latency issue or listening to any latency issues through the console. And that's pretty much what I wanted to show right now. I hope it helped you a little bit. Let me know. You can always bash me and whatnot in the comments below. Thank you so much. Take care.